We have sent actually we received some feedbacks mainly from Dr. Kulkarni, and I don't want to repeat his words which he has already spoken about. I would like to simply say breaking of monopoly of international certification schemes, that most of us are actually looking forward to it. Simplification of due diligence and risk assessment requirements to help illiterate farmers as well as burden of unnecessary documentation. Certainly, we can come together to discuss and find some mechanisms where it can be helped. This has been already discussed, development of indigenous model and benchmarking. Dr. Kulkarni has already explained a lot of things on this in detail. Consultation, yes, there is a need for consultation, and there should be a third party or widely accepted organization shall be available to accept the schemes what we are going to propose in future maybe. Group, large area and individual small area certification schemes. Area may be decided based on the public consultation. This has been a very, very important topic I've been looking into. I've been working in the forest here in West Africa, Southeast Asia, and some other part of the globe where I've been providing the technical advisories to them. And what I have identified and found that group scheme is very, very tedious in case of agroforestry. So we have been working on a system I will be explaining in future, I mean in a couple of slides later, that a kind of a mechanism or electronic system be developed where we can work in jointly to collect the forestry parameters electronically. And what is my idea is into the group that we have been working. So if there are societies, the same area can be divided, or the area can be divided into same graticules or the same dividends, and then the same area can be registered with the system with the user access. With the user access, and the user can be the respective farmer or can be the respective industry itself, and they can control the data. I will explain something in a couple of slides. Cost effective, it's very, very important that we are paying means to the international agencies, the clients are really paying a huge annual accreditation fees, and that is not dependent on the exported or the domestic volume. It is actually the total turnover of the company, and that's why it is more expensive in terms of maintaining or retaining the certification post the objective or the purpose of the certification, especially for the export, is done. No EIA, well, environment impact assessment and performance review except selected criteria or parameters. So if we know that the company is already legal, they are maintaining a good taxation and everything, but still there is a need to do an environment impact assessment before continuing the schemes, especially for the large areas. And performance review, certainly, yes, that's very, very important, that what was the performance of the company at the time of certification and when it is to be maintained. And that's why I explained that there is a need for the surveillance wherever it is needed. No benefit sharing mechanism, as just in the previous discussion or in the panel discussion, when Mr. Bhajanka indicated that they are ready to pay 5% if the client or the farmers are maintaining the certification or the sustainability criteria. So that kind of a mechanism we should definitely put in place, that which is very hardly, available in any certification schemes. Certainly, they are working on towards their businesses, or in terms of the marketing tool, they are getting benefited by themselves. We have been working for developing a kind of a system where it's a completely electronic data collection system. It is mobile and web-based application. We are testing it, and maybe this will be available in a couple of months' time. I've been discussing this with Dr. Singh long ago, with Dr. Pandey, and based on their feedback or the advice, I've been trying to develop some kind of a CIT mechanism, which is based on the QR code. The QR code management. So what we do, we are capturing the data from forest management planning, inventory, harvesting, government and regulatory approvals. This is to be introduced if any government is interested, or when we discuss about developing something, this can be a blended approach where we can have all the traceability as well as the data of the certified or the sustainable sources we can talk about. And this can also be providing you the sales functionality where you can, any buyer sitting across the globe can access your data. And the only best part of the application which I find is you cannot manipulate it. So once the data is submitted. So you cannot manipulate, nor the, neither the government nor the private bodies can manipulate except the approval. So that we can look into what we can see. So this application is actually being developed in the framework where you have a mobile application to collect the data from the field, and you can submit it to the web-based application directly to be interfaced with the government authorities to get approvals. What we actually discussed in the previous slides about the self-declaration, where this application can help greatly, that they can develop themselves to collect that information and the data, and this archiving system will be available to be reviewed or tested or audited by the government agencies before they can issue any certification or licensing authority. Electronic data collection from field, that's through mobile application I explained, and barcode or QR code management. We were discussing about some barcode or QR code management systems where instead of linking all the products let's say we are talking about a tree, and where the tree can give us a core veneer as well as face veneer. So instead of putting the barcodes at the back end, we would like to put the barcode after the chain of custody or the traceability is established with the finished goods. So there are the mechanisms where an individual tree can be barcoded or QR coded, as well as the land can be registered as a unit. And in the land, in case of bamboos, we are talking about that because it's very difficult to enumerate or estimate number of bamboos per particular area. So if that mechanism can be, we are still working and thinking of that, how this mechanism can be workable, that number of bamboos or the culms can be enumerated and can be clubbed together particular to that, based on their species, particular to their dimensions, especially the diameter. And then we can say, okay, this much of volume is available with this QR code, but it is still under testing, so I cannot comment much on that at this time. Forest mapping criteria, number of trees per acre or hectare, which I just explained you. Certainly, yes, and this tool can also help you to provide your GPS location, where you can also find yourself on the Google map, where the tree has been harvested from, or where the product has been manufactured from, or where these other technologies or the things or the processing has been done. Due diligence or legality check is an inherent property of the system without which we do not proceed. Online and offline database management system, wherein you can get the data by yourself in online. You can use the Wi-Fi, you can use the mobile data, and also you can use the same thing in the offline database when it can capture the, or it can download the information for you for future references. Explaining about the interfacing with the government agencies. Yes, this can also be worked together and can use a very sustainable model where the data, what we are actually lacking a lot of information from the forestry perspective is the data from the agroforestry grounds. So this can also be done once we can interface this, the tool with the government agencies. Separate user management for group certification schemes. That's, I was just talking about that. They have this application can provide you the login access to several users, and that's why you can say if you want to export or if you want to collect the timber from different farmers, let's say 50 farmers, you can get an access to 50 farmers with different user accesses. Each and every farmer will be given a QR code. We are trying to reduce the cost of the QR code, because it is somewhat which I believe that when we consider that the honorable industrialist like Mr. Bhajanka can pay 5% of the cost of the procurement, or can increase the premium to that level, I think that the cost can cover the QR code management systems also. And to maintain the electronic gadgets, it's not very difficult, because we do not need a separate gadgets. Almost everybody is having the mobile phone in their hands, especially the farmers also. So we can definitely go to different tools where we can use it, and mobiles can easily access, and it is based on the Android, which is not very expensive at this time. The forest, this can also help you to gather the information for the forest management certification. If somebody wants to go for the international schemes, yes, they can go for it. Then the sawmill, the factory processor, and the retailer as well. Just a small main, these are my personal views, may not be considered as that kind of a benchmarking for that, but I think what our idea is the traceability or sustainability certification scheme, or the tool or standard, we can call anything about, It can be purely a marketing tool. In my opinion, no, because it will, I mean, the sustainability will play a major role into that scheme. Well, in most of the certification schemes, yes, most of the operators don't maintain for a long. That's the biggest challenge. I was citing the website of FSC. I find that quite some time before there were 1,700 clients were certified by by FSC, and they were having the FSC certification, FSC certificate, but now there are only left with 700. So we have already lost more or less 1,000 clients already for this certification. So if we want to maintain certification scheme for a long, if we cannot maintain the operator, it's very difficult to maintain the certification scheme as well. Royalty or annual, yes. I mean, in our scheme, what we are proposing is we do not want to charge any kind of royalty or annual fee, but certainly there would be a service fee which has to be paid to the service provider or the implementer. Approach, it is completely based on the forest processes and the product base. So it will be equally important for the forestry as well as the manufacturing side. Is irrelevant to the fact that do we really need it for any specific customer or the buyer. You can consider it, yes, I need it, but in my opinion, I think we have to first be sustainable and we have to first be certified, irrespective of going for a customer or buyer. Let's say the best example becomes the BIS standard. A client or an operator or industrialist do not want to go for a buyer, especially for BIS, but they would like to go for a BIS standard to maintain their integrity with respect to the quality of the product. Covers, yes, it covers the area and the product supply chains, wherein I mean, mostly we will be thinking about the indigenous systems where the state forest laws will be predominantly considered. Meets requirement of the national laws, like what we Dr. Kulkarni informed about the IND India gap and the NPOP, because we have been working on some kind of principles which NPOP is also I mean accepting, which is very much relevant to the agroforestry systems, that will help us to link between a forestry as well as the agriculture crop, and that's we already I mean already call it as agroforestry crop. Legality, in terms of the legality, the legal acceptance will be again on the will be on the main principle of one of the principles of maintaining the sustainability of the standard, and the geo-referencing will lead to the legality aspect, where we can build in or start our chain of custody of the legality or traceability system. Monitoring, it is equally, we can say, self-declaration as well as the state or central government agency. So it can be self-declared by the client and can be verified or approved by the state or the central government agency. As we have been identifying that we know Yamuna Nagar, most of the timber is coming as a poplar eucalyptus. So we see that only 2 species are coming from that particular area. So instead of certifying a particular species per district, per region, or per block, or the per village or something, if the area can be considered as what actually happens in the organic, I mean organic certification. Let's say the haldi or the turmeric which is coming from I think Meghalaya, that is only from Garo Hills, I think that is the only species available across the globe. The red sander, the red sander, which is only coming from the Hyderabad region. So we do not really want other certification schemes, because in India specifically, we know that the biodiversity is, of course, it's a vast biodiversity is there in the country with the different forest types, but we can definitely think of some kind of mechanism where the traceability or the legality can be assured with the help of this kind of assurances that this like the tropical or the deciduous forest is, I mean the deciduous species will not be grown in the temperate species, I mean the temperate region, something like that. Authorization verification, it can be regional, that is a local, state, or the central agencies. In local, I mean in the sense that when a farmer wants to harvest a tree after a particular rotation, which I would definitely consider as a main tool for the sustainability. After a particular rotation, the sarpanch can also ensure that this harvest has been done legally based on the system, when we might link it with the electronic, the archiving. With the certification audit process, I would again don't want to go much into detail, because most of us know about the certification audit process nowadays. And We can simply in the general terms like general comments can be said, or the terms like not a fault finding mission. The certification seeks conformances, not non-conformances. Audit findings are not secret. So openness, believe in open communication and openness, maintain business confidentiality, sampling process, finding presented could only be a representation of trends, means if a sample is faulty does not mean that entire system is faulty, but it is just a replica of, just a representation of the trends. There could be more problems not identified during the evaluation process. So everybody knows that if you do not maintain for the, the surveillances, you have to check that maybe the previous problem was not the main problem of this. Most of the certification schemes like FSC have already worked upon the critical control points, where actually they are the points. We in some schemes they talk about the hot points. They say the risk, the risk points and so forth. So we can also use some kind of different terminologies which are more relevant to the Indian scenarios, especially if, and we can definitely consider about the aspects. With those words, I would like to sum up my presentation, and I would like to thank you all for for inviting me for this presentation.